There is a road in northern Pakistan that took 20 years to build. 24,000 men worked on it. More than 1,000 of them never came home. That is roughly one death for every kilometer and a half of finished road. And here is the part nobody talks about. Everyone knew. They knew after the first year. They knew after the first 100 bodies came down off the mountain. And they kept building anyway. For 20 more years. So what was worth that? This is the Karakoram Highway, 1,300 kilometers of asphalt running from Kashgar in western China over the Karakoram Mountains down into the plains of Pakistan. It crosses the border at 4,693 meters. That makes it the highest paved international border crossing on Earth. Higher than most people will ever stand without a plane. People call it the eighth wonder of the world, which sounds like tourism board language until you understand what was actually here before. Nothing. There was nothing here. The Karakoram Range is one of the most hostile places on the planet. Glaciers, gorges 2,000 meters deep, rock walls with no shelf to stand on. For centuries, the only way through was on foot, along Silk Road tracks that killed a percentage of everyone who used them. And in 1959, two countries decided to put a highway through it, because both of them were trapped. Pakistan had India to the east and Afghanistan to the west, and no reliable friend on either side. China had just broken with the Soviet Union and was watching its northern border harden into a threat. The two countries shared exactly one thing, a border high in the Karakoram that neither of them could actually use. A road through those mountains was not a convenience. For both governments, it was an escape route. That is why the deaths did not stop the work. The road was worth more to them than the men building it. So they started. But if you look at a map of that border, there is a problem with the route they picked. There was an easier way across. The Mintaka Pass sits west of the route they chose. It is gentler, wider. It was the historic Silk Road crossing, the one caravans had used for 1,000 years because it was the one that let you live. Pakistan wanted Mintaka. It was the obvious choice. Less climbing, less rock, fewer men in dangerous places. China said no. In 1966, Chinese engineers pushed for a different pass, steeper, narrower, buried deeper in the mountains. Every single thing that made Mintaka easier made it the wrong answer in Chinese eyes. Because Mintaka was open, exposed. A wide, gentle valley that an aircraft could fly straight down. China wanted a road that could not be bombed. The pass they chose was so tight, so walled in by rock, that hitting it from the air would be almost impossible. The difficulty was not a cost they accepted. The difficulty was the entire point. And so the harder route won. The men would pay for that decision for the next 13 years. But it was not the altitude that killed most of them. It was not the cold either. It was the mountains themselves. The Karakoram is the fastest rising mountain range on Earth. India is still driving north into Asia, and this is where the collision happens. These mountains are not finished. They are actively being built right now faster than erosion can wear them down. Which means the rock is young, fractured, unstable in a way that older mountains are not. A slope that looks solid can release without warning. A face that held yesterday will let go today. There is no reading it, and in 1960 there was no technology that could. Men worked on ropes over drops of hundreds of meters, drilling by hand, setting charges into rock that was actively trying to move. Landslides and falls, that is what killed them. Over and over, for 20 years. And the pass they were cutting toward already had a name. In Wakhi, the language spoken in those valleys, Khunjerab means blood valley. Nobody named it that because of the road. That name is older than the highway, older than either country. The people who lived there named it for what the place did to anyone who tried to cross it, centuries before a single engineer arrived. They built the road through it anyway. Building it was not one project. It was thousands of small ones, repeated for 20 years. There were no roads to the work sites because the road was the work. Crews walked in, supplies came up by mule. On the Pakistani side, the army did it. Military engineers working alongside Chinese teams sent over the border. They drilled by hand, set the charges, blew a shelf out of the cliff, cleared the rubble, and moved forward a few meters. Then winter closed the mountain and everyone came down. Every spring they went back up and did it again. The highway was completed in 1979. It did not open to the public until 1986, 27 years after the first cruise went up. Today it carries trucks, traders, and tourists. It is the spine of a trade corridor worth tens of billions of dollars. Convoys move through Blood Valley every week, and most of the people in them have no idea what is underneath the road, because in Gilgit, a town along the route, there is a cemetery. More than 140 Chinese workers are buried there, not soldiers. Road builders, men who died drilling into a mountain roughly 4,000 kilometers from home and who were never brought back. Around 810 Pakistani workers died as well, most of them buried where they fell in valleys that are still moving. So was it worth it? The road exists. The two countries got what they wanted, but every kilometer of it cost a life, and the mountain that took them is still rising. It is still not finished with the road.